Hi, let me tell you about two presidents, two situations, and how they were handled differently by those presidents. One, my father, Ronald Reagan. It was the 1980s. My wife, Colleen, and I were having dinner with Dad and Nancy at the Century Plaza Hotel in Century City, California. After dinner, we were having coffee, and Ed Meese called my father on the phone and said, "Mr. President, as you know, we're doing war games in the Gulf of Sidra. Gaddafi's sending planes out, and they're locking onto our boys, and there's fear that one of them may fire at one of our planes. What should we do?" My father said, "Ed, fire back." Then Ed said, "Well, Mr. President, what happens if we're fired upon and the planes turn and run?" My father said, "Chase them." Then Ed said, "Well, Mr. President, what happens if they fire upon our boys and turn and run back into their own airspace?" My father said, "Ed, if they fire at our boys, you tell them to chase them all the way back to their hangars if necessary, but you will shoot them down." Ed then said, "Fine, Mr. President, do I need to call and wake you?" My father said, "No, only if our boys are shot down." And the next morning, we find out that 2 Libyan planes were in the ground, shot down because they fired upon our boys. My father slept very well that night. Why? Because none of our boys were shot down. Now let me take you to Barack Obama. The call comes in from Benghazi. Where was he? Campaigning. Nowhere to be found. Couldn't get him on the phone. Where did he go after he found out? He went to Las Vegas for a fundraiser. Later he would do The View, Jon Stewart show, Jay Leno show, David Letterman show. But he would not address the issue with the nation, and he certainly didn't address the issue that night where he might have been able to save lives. What about Jimmy Carter? I bring Jimmy Carter in. Why? Because even Jimmy Carter, as a failed president, at least tried to do something to save the hostages there in the desert. He did something. This Democrat did nothing but try to affix blame to someplace else other than himself. We need to change the presidency in Washington, D.C. We need a president who says, chase them all the way back to their hangars if necessary, but you will shoot them down. Not a president who can't find the phone when an ambassador, Navy SEALs, and others are in harm's way. America, next Tuesday, we have a chance to do this. Let's get it right this time for a change. I'm Mike Reagan.